Most people think porcini mushrooms are strictly a wild forest thing, like there's no way you could grow them at home, especially not in serious quantities. But the truth is more interesting. If you approach it systematically, create the right conditions, and use high-quality mycelium, growing mushrooms can become a steady food source and even a solid income stream. Let's be honest right away. Classic porcini, the real deal, Boletus edulis, is a mycorrhizal mushroom. In nature, it grows in symbiosis with tree roots. That's why it's much harder to cultivate than button mushrooms or oyster mushrooms. But there are two main approaches. First, greenhouse or basement growing using a mycorrhizal system with tree seedlings. Second, growing outdoors under coniferous or deciduous trees. Let's start with what you need. The most important thing is high-quality mycelium. If you're in the US, buy from reputable suppliers that follow USDA guidelines and offer certified products. Look for specialized mushroom farms or online stores that sell spawn in grain or substrate form. In the US, quality porcini mycelium usually runs between $20 and $40 per package, depending on volume and producer. Cheaper options often mean weak colonization or low viability. This isn't the place to cut corners. Now let's talk temperature. Porcini prefer a mild climate. The ideal temperature for mycelium development is between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, about 15 to 21 degrees Celsius.
Now the big question, how do you scale up? 50 kilos per week is already semi-commercial level. That requires a system, not just a few containers. Option 1, mycorrhizing tree seedlings. You buy young pine, spruce, or oak seedlings. Treat the root system with a mycelium solution, then plant them in large containers or directly in your yard on a prepared plot. The soil should be loose, enriched with forest litter or sawdust. The mycelium gradually forms a symbiotic relationship with the roots. This takes time. The first mushrooms may appear after a year, sometimes two. But once established, production can stay stable for many seasons. Option 2, a more controlled setup. Create an artificial forest-style substrate. A typical mix includes shredded bark, hardwood sawdust, a small amount of sand, leaf compost. The substrate needs to be sterilized or pasteurized. After it cools, inoculate it with mycelium. Then keep the containers in a dark space with stable temperature and high humidity. Light isn't critical during mycelium development, but it is needed for fruiting. Another key factor is carbon dioxide. High CO2 levels lead to poorly formed mushrooms, so proper ventilation is essential. Now about volume. To reach dozens of kilos per week, you'll need dozens or even hundreds of square feet of substrate area. Professional growers use multi-tier shelving systems. Each tier holds blocks of fully colonized substrate. Yield depends heavily on conditions, but with the right setup, you can get several kilos per square meter per fruiting flush. One crucial detail, cleanliness. Mushroom production is extremely sensitive to contamination from mold and bacteria. Tools, hands, surfaces, everything needs to be as clean as possible. Watering is done by humidifying the air, not by pouring water directly onto the substrate. Too much water causes rot.
As for lighting, a few hours of diffused light per day is enough for fruiting. Total darkness isn't necessary, but direct sunlight is harmful. If you're planning to scale, it's worth investing in a humidifier, a thermometer and hygrometer, a ventilation system, metal shelving units. On the US market, porcini mushrooms command a premium price, especially fresh or organic. Restaurants, farmers markets, and specialty stores are often willing to pay top dollar.